Hey guys, Chris here. Today we're doing another comparison video. Today we're doing the Volvo XC60 versus the Volvo XC90, a much requested video, a video I'm really excited to film, and two cars I'm very excited to compare because these two cars are very different, but at the same time maybe one of the most similar Volvos in their lineup. But before we go ahead with today's topic, be sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you aren't subscribed. I checked the stats here last week, and as much as 92% of you guys are watching are not subscribed. So if you like the channel, if you like the videos I'm making, it really helps me out a lot if you guys subscribe. It really shows me that you are willing to support the channel, and you won't miss the videos. You'll get a notification when I upload new videos, which I do twice a week. 92%, guys, that's crazy. And if you want to follow more car stuff I do, please go ahead and follow me on Instagram. Link is in the description down below. So today's topic is the Volvo XC60 versus the Volvo XC90. I have some notes here on my screen, a cheat sheet, because I don't know all of these stats, by heart. But just to give you guys some background, I've had two Volvo XC90s for the past 4 years. I've had a D4 inscription, and I've also had a T8 inscription. I've also, if you have watched my videos for the past few years, driven just about every Volvo there is out there. I've done maybe somewhere in the ballpark of 100,000 miles in Volvos, or well, more than 100,000 miles, maybe almost 120,000 miles in Volvos the past, 4 years. So the cars we're going to compare are Volvo XC60 Momentum T5 all-wheel drive and the XC90 Momentum T5 all-wheel drive. And what we're going to do, we're going to do US prices. Prices might vary depending on what market you are in, and also the price difference between the XC60 and the XC90 might be different depending on the market. So what we'll start with is the XC60 T5 all-wheel drive, which starts at, in the US, at $40,795,000 for the T5 front-wheel drive. And then the T5 all-wheel drive starts at $43,095. The car is spec'd with white flat paint, 20-inch wheels, and a leather interior. It's just to make the comparison as fair as possible. If you add options to these cars, the options in Volvo at least are most likely the same spec for spec. So this car, with the T6, or the T5 all-wheel drive, white with 20-inch wheels and leather, with destination ends up at $44,445,000. And then if you spec an XC90 similar, that also white Momentum with 20-inch wheels and leather, that car will end up at $52,642. So that's a delta of $8,200. And well, that will be, one of the pros of the XC60, and one of the cons of the XC90 is the price difference. But we'll address that more at the end of the video. But first I want to go through the pros and the cons. So the XC60 pros are obviously a lower price, a lower starting price at almost, $8,000 price delta is a huge difference. It also has a smaller footprint, so if you live in a city where you have small streets, small parking spots, that is most definitely a pro for the XC60. It has the same tech and features. So unlike the XC60 versus the XC40 video I did last week, if you haven't seen that video, please click the link up there in the right corner. You can't get this. The XC60 comes with more stuff than, or is available with more and cooler stuff than the XC40. But the XC60 and the XC90, you get the same Bowers & Wilkins optional sound system. You can get laminated side windows, the insulating glass. you can get the same massaging and cooling seats. So feature for feature, you can get the same thing in the XC60 as in the XC90. And that is a pro for the XC60, most definitely. And you also get better driving dynamics with similar comfort. So if you spec the XC60 with air suspension, it's almost as good riding as the XC90 with air suspension, but you get much better driving dynamics because it's a lower and much lighter car with a lower center of gravity. Then you have the cons of the XC60, and most obviously it's the smaller cabin. So the car is both shorter and lower and narrower, meaning it has a smaller cabin. You also get a smaller boot, and by quite a huge margin. The boot in the XC60 is 483 liters versus 640 in the XC60, but that isn't the whole story. We'll get more back to that when we go through the XC90's pros, but it has a much smaller boot. You also have no third row as an option, so if you want to carry 6 people or 7 people, then the XC60 just isn't an option for you. Then we have the XC90 and its pros, and firstly, it's a more luxurious vehicle. No doubt in my mind, it's a much more luxurious feeling, more rich in materials. It just offers more of what the XC60 does good in a larger package. It also has a larger cabin, and that thus comes a third row. It has a much larger boot at 640 liters, but the XC60 has a raking rear screen, while the XC90 has almost a 90-degree rake to its screen, or 180-degree depending on where you measure it, meaning it has a much larger boot. And I mean, the difference between the trunk in the XC90 in the XC60 is huge. So if you want to carry a lot of stuff, well, you have to go with the XC90. The XC60 is just too small in my opinion. And you also have a more comfortable ride. Yes, the XC60 is almost there with air suspension, but the XC90 just eclipses it. It's a better riding car. So if you want the best riding car, well, go for the XC90. And it also has a quieter cabin. Not by much, but it still has a quieter cabin. Then the XC90 cons. Well, a larger footprint. This car is almost 5 meters long, 2 meters wide, and 1.8 meters tall. It is a huge car for a lot of people. Yes, you will get used to it, but if you live in a European city with narrow streets and small parking spaces, well, this might just be a car that's just unpractical in the city. I remember driving my XC90 here in Oslo. It doesn't even fit in between the lines of a parallel parking spot. It's that huge. So for many European cities, it's just too large. So it might not even be a practical choice for you if you live in a city with narrow and small streets. It's more top heavy, meaning it has much more body motion and body roll. My girlfriend was always complaining about how much it rolled in the corners when driving it on, a country road or a twisty road, which we have a lot of here in Norway. So if you don't like that stuff, I don't mind it at all. But if you don't like cars that roll and pitch and dive a lot, well, the XC90 isn't anything for you. And then lastly, you have a higher price. It's $8,000 more than the XC60. For a similar price, you can get an XC60 T5 all-wheel drive R design, the sporty version, with option 21-inch wheels, and the R design also comes with the upgraded Harman and Kardon sound system. It comes with upgraded sport seats. It's just a much nicer and cooler looking car in my opinion than the Momentum. So, well, do you want to save $8,000 or do you want to go for a higher spec XC60 versus an XC90? Well, guys, let me know in the comments down below what you would do. Would you save the $8,000 and go for an XC60 instead? Or would you just opt for a higher optioned XC60? Or would you just go for the XC90? What would I do? Well, I've had 2 XC90s and my answer is, is in accordance with that. I think the XC90 just offers much more. It's a much larger car. I like having lots of space and comfort, and the luxurious cabin just, in my opinion, it makes the car feel much more luxurious and special than the XC60. If you choose the XC60, you won't be disappointed. It is a brilliant car, but for the same, well, not for the same money, but for the $8,000 price delta, I would pay that because I just think it's worth it. You just get much more car, and also at the end of the day, I think it will hold its price better if you go for an XC90, because that car with 7 seats and being a much more desirable vehicle, it will hold its price better than the XC60 in my opinion. So I would go for the XC60 because it's larger, more comfortable, and more roomy. It's just a much more special car to drive. Yes, you lose performance compared to the XC60 because it's a heavier car and a larger car, but I don't mind that. The T5 engine is fine in both cars. If you want a performance version of these, you can also always go for the T6 or the T8, but the price delta will still be the same. So guys, let me know in the comments down below, would you go for the XC60 or the XC90? I'm really curious. So if you like this video, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always guys, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.